Once upon a time, a boy called Willem was happily playing with his friend when all of a sudden Willem stumbled on a branch and ended up with a little scratch in his arm. When Willem got back on his feet, he noticed the scratch and he said, "Nothing that a true warrior of the kingdom wouldn't handle." So he went back to playing. 2 days later, and Willem started having fever. 5 days later, and his parents were concerned that something more serious was going on, so they decided to call the barber of their village. When the barber examined Willem, he spotted a great red cut using a yellow substance. That's when he realized Willem was doomed. He told his parents the inevitable fate of the kid. The mother fell into her knees while Dad was trying to comfort her. 1 week later, and Willem passed out. The poor kid couldn't stand a chance against this inevitable end. But what if he could?
The discovery of penicillin, one of the world's first antibiotics, marks a true turning point in human history when doctors finally had a tool that could completely cure their patients of deadly infectious diseases. It was discovered by Alexander Fleming while doing a series of experiments involving the staphylococcal bacteria. He left a petri dish uncovered next to an open window, and it got contaminated with mold spores. Fleming observed that the bacteria next to the mold colonies were dying, separating the fungus. He was able to identify it as a member of the Penicillin genus. The fungi was effective against all gram-positive pathogens, which are responsible for diseases such as scarlet fever, pneumonia, gonorrhea, and meningitis. Actually, Fleming had neither the laboratory resources at St. Mary's nor the chemistry background to take the next giant steps of isolating the active ingredient of the penicillin mold juice, purifying it, figuring out which germs it was effective against, and how to use it. It was Howard Florey, Ernest Chain, and their colleagues at the Sir William Dunn School of Pathology at Oxford University who turned penicillin from a laboratory curiosity into a life-saving drug. Their work on the purification and chemistry of penicillin began in the earliest 1939, just when wartime conditions were beginning to make research especially difficult. After promising experiments with mice, Florey realized that he had enough information to test the drug on people. But a problem remained: how to produce enough pure penicillin to treat people. In spite of efforts to increase the yield from the mold cultures, it took 2,000 liters of mold fluid to obtain enough pure penicillin to treat a single case of sepsis in a person. Albert Alexander became the first recipient of the Oxford penicillin. He had scratched the side of his mouth while pruning roses, and had developed a life-threatening infection with huge abscesses affecting his eyes, face, and lungs. Penicillin was injected, and within days, he made a remarkable recovery.
Florey and Chain's report about the mouse trials drew great interest from both scientific and military communities. World War II was well underway in Europe, and the ability to combat disease and infection could mean the difference between victory and defeat. Because British facilities were manufacturing all the drugs needed for the war effort in Europe, Florey and Hadley traveled to the US in July of 1941 to continue research and seek help from the American pharmaceutical industry. They convinced 4 drug companies to aid in the production of penicillin. Following Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, it was clear to scientists and military strategists that a combined effort was needed to produce the large amounts of penicillin needed to win the war. A total of 21 US companies joined together, producing 2.3 million doses of penicillin in preparation of the D-Day invasion of Normandy. Penicillin quickly became known as the war's miracle drug, curing infectious diseases and saving millions of lives. In 1945, Sir Alexander Fleming, Ernst Chain, and Sir Howard Florey were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for the discovery of penicillin and its curative effect in various infectious diseases.
They are economically important for the production of cheese, organic acids, and antibiotics. They play an important role as decomposing in the ecosystem. Beyond allergies, penicillins become less effective over time, as bacteria have become resistant to the antibiotics designed to kill them. Since its discovery, penicillin is considered one of the most important classes of antibiotics. Thanks to it, several bacterial diseases previously inevitably deadly could be treated. The use of antibiotics has changed the course of medicine.